Recently, I decided I'd finally get around to learning Street Fighter 6 and conduct an experiment on myself with the goal of getting Mai to Master rank. I've been fascinated with learning different fighting games and feeling how the metagames within the games differ. While not always one-to-one, I find I'm able to take concepts from one game and apply them to others, which helps me understand general fighting game decision-making on a deeper level. I thought it would be a cool video. I'm just fascinated with the learning process and have a deep appreciation for beating scrubs. Street Fighter 6 is clearly the most popular 2D fighting game on the market right now, and I almost feel like if there was one game I had to be competent at, it's SF6. I love my Grand Blue dearly, but I'm excited to go get consistent and constant matches that aren't against the same two guys for an hour straight. Street Fighter also has a functioning rank system, which is surprisingly uncommon in fighting games historically. Go try Grand Blue, by the way, it's free. So why Mai? Mai came out at the time I was considering this experiment. I had the luxury of her tech and info being shared around everywhere at the time. I could rely on guides to not be out of date, which is something surprisingly common in fighting games. I never really played SNK games, so I could gain an appreciation for an SNK character. I also thought it would be funny to learn Street Fighter through the lens of a guest character. Those are the only reasons. Many Street Fighter players consider Master the starting point, the rank where people generally know the flow of the match and can execute a basic game plan. This is where the MMR system kicks in, and it's where you begin to fight pretty solid competition. Master isn't an endpoint by any means, but it was my goal for this little foray into Street Fighter. I don't have to stop playing when I get to Master, but achieving Master is a great time to stop for a second and reflect on the journey so far. For the sake of total transparency, I was placed in Platinum 1, and this experiment took me 697 matches to complete. I do have legacy skills from other fighting games, so if you're new, don't be discouraged when it takes you longer. We all start somewhere. I've prepared 5 bits of advice for players looking to go on this journey, and I'm going to promptly blast them into your ear holes. So what did I learn? Develop a game plan and a fallback strategy for when your game plan isn't working. One of the things I find valuable when learning new games is that if the community is vocal enough, which fighting game communities tend to be, you'll learn very quickly what is strong in the game. I've heard complaints about low forward drive rush since SF6's launch, as well as constant belly aching about the power of throw loops. The character I picked takes great advantage of both of these strategies, so I didn't really have to think too much about developing her game plan. I would play neutral, which really came down to baiting out whiff buttons. I would then hit my opponent with the crouching medium kick, and then I would drive rush in and do a combo. If they blocked the crouching medium kick, it wasn't a big deal because I could now tick throw them or shimmy them mid-screen. I would then get in the corner and proceed to throw loop and shimmy opponents, kill them, and repeat. This was and still is a sound strategy. The problem comes in when things got a little crazy. When opponents didn't want to play a grounded game, they used moves I wasn't familiar with or just kind of beat me in neutral, I decided on a backup strategy of walking back and throwing an EX fan, which when blocked put the opponent in a disadvantageous RPS situation that I would abuse to win the game. Turns out 90% of people think that they're the only super genius in the world that can DI or DP through this, so I had a lot of free wins handed to me by their fear of blocking. I found around Diamond 3 I was stagnating, so I went back to the drawing board and decided to implement a little bit of basic looping Oki stolen from this Brian F video. I also spent a little time doing DP anti-air drills because her DP's on a kick, which I kept fumbling mid-match. All of this together formed my game plan that carried me into Master and is still very effective. Regardless of your character, I think it's worth taking a little time to work out a game plan that takes advantage of the game's systems and has advantageous situations that you can reliably reproduce in the field of battle. It doesn't have to be fancy, and if you're really lost on what to do, you can just steal ideas from people who play your character. Players are who they tell you they are. Have you ever played rock, paper, scissors with someone who insisted rock always wins and picked rock like 90% of the time? Or the old adage, tails never fails? Or maybe even notice that you yourself wipes your ass the same way every single trip to the bathroom. People are who they tell you they are. Us humans are dreadful at being random, especially so when we don't realize the patterns we're falling into. This is the case for the vast majority of people playing Street Fighter, or really any fighting game. If Akuma Lover 69 DPs on Wake Up the first time, he's probably going to continue DPing on Wake Up. If Jury Champ 420 panics and jumps out of the corner the first time, you can bet your ass they're going to keep trying to jump out of the corner. I call these a player's default habits. Most players below Master Rank don't even realize these things are habits. They just go, Aw man, didn't work that time, but it always works, so I'll do it again. These players might even change it up once or twice, but countering their default habits should be a priority as soon as you recognize them. Maybe 1 in 50 matches you play ranked, you'll get matched with someone capable of adapting back and forth. Taking an L to them isn't the worst thing in the world if you're riding a solid win rate against the scrubs. If you recognize someone's habits and can't punish them, that is a failing on your part and a sign of an area of your game that you need to improve. Okay. You aren't going to effectively learn every matchup in ranked. This one's really about Dalsim, but you can get caught by Blanca or Lily, I guess also Kimberly and Rashid to a lesser extent. These characters, and surely other ones as more DLC comes out, were not heavily represented on my climb to master rank, all of which have gimmicks and strategies that require a bit of knowledge to counter. Simply put, unless you seek out matches with people who play these characters, you probably won't learn the knowledge required to consistently beat them. You can go out of your way to learn these matchups, which will surely help you climb, but your time is probably spent more effectively honing your fundamentals. Me personally, I just considered Blanca to be a tax on my ranked points. You can try to press the old play in a room button and learn the matchup if they accept, but I find people rarely will join and grind out sets. I also didn't want to fight Blanca any more than I had to. You don't actually have to learn these matchups to get to master. To this day, I have no idea how to fight against Blanca, and frankly, I think there's something beautiful about that. Climbing past master would likely require me learning that matchup, but that sounds like work I would do in a follow-up video where I get to Grandmaster. It's not always going to be a clean fight. Who cares? Mike Tyson once said, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." This couldn't be more true when fighting the denizens of Street Fighter 6 ranked. You will find yourself queuing into matches and faced with a pop quiz to solve their riddles 3. If you solve their game plan, which tends to be some gimmicky flowchart, you will win and they will leave without rematching. These players are scrubs, and it is your duty to destroy them. You probably won't beat them all, especially so when you're first starting, but you will fight them often, so you might as well suck it up and learn to enjoy giving their fragile egos a reality check. They have developed a game plan but haven't seen the bigger picture. They don't understand the exchange between players, the invisible beauty that lies between interactions in the virtual arena. Dealing with them is a very important part of playing fighting games, and if you want to improve, you have to take the time to solve their knowledge checks, block their DPs, and snatch their points from their sticky little hands. Don't stoop to their level. Let them throw the match away. They always do and always will. You can beat these players. The real test lies within controlling your emotions when solving their flowcharts. Scrubs got to where they are because they have a game plan that's effective when they possess all of the knowledge of the interactions that they set up. So you have to pay attention and learn to beat them. Lastly, take the game systems into account when making decisions. Oftentimes when playing SF6, I find myself more focused on taking away the opponent's drive gauge as opposed to their health. When a player's in burnout, they're in hell. Consider this when playing. If their gauge is low, get them to block some attacks and burn them out. Use your supers to burn them out. Recognize when you're near burnout and maybe don't drive rush in for a few seconds. Drive gauge management can predict the outcome of a match. If someone is eager to spend it, you should be eager to punish them. And if you don't understand something about the drive system or burnout, go learn about it. In short, DI them when they're burnt out. Asterisk. If you find yourself burnt out, it's time to learn if your survival instincts are up to par, buddy. I found myself in this situation quite a bit on my grind due to my game plan being kind of drive gauge expensive, so I developed a gimmick to help me get my drive gauge back. I call this the Buffer Teabag Scrub Destroyer 3000. Patent pending. After probably burning myself out, I would run for my life and begin buffering quarter circle back. This has a twofold effect. Firstly, I was buffering a potential level 3 super that I could quickly use if my opponent had a foolhardy approach. Secondly, it kind of looks like I'm teabagging, and if there's one thing we know about scrubs, it's that they hate teabagging. This caused all sorts of reactions. A lot of them just sort of started teabagging back or overcommitted to something, which meant congratulations, your drive bar's back. Success. Decent players will know you're buffering, but even then they could get a little confused, and their hesitation could be the difference between dying and getting your drive gauge back at just the right time. You don't even need to be actually buffering any super. I did this without level 3 a lot, and it still worked in delaying my opponents. If they're in Diamond, they probably don't know what your inputs actually are, and really using a level 3 isn't always the best here, but it worked. Don't be afraid of abusing a gimmick or two. They can be effective. And you're not trying to beat GM players, you're just trying to get to Master. I think everyone has the capacity and capability to achieve Master in Street Fighter 6 with a little bit of work and a little bit of consistency. Congratulations, you're playing a fighting game. Many players struggle with ranked in general, often due to anxiety or frustration. If that sounds like you, I've got another video on screen that might help you get out there and play enjoyable matches consistently. For everyone else, if you get to Master after watching this video, let me know. If this helps you in any way, please leave a like, and if it distracted you from the harsh realities of life, subscribe for more. Thank you, and I'll see you in our next fight.